right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
A triumphant night for Donald Trump. About an hour ago at the Republican National Convention, the former president made his first public appearance since a would-be assassin's bullet nearly took his life, wearing a bandage over his right ear and standing next to his newly minted running mate. Political editor Mark Maxwell will have more in just a minute in a live report from Milwaukee.
First, we start with the weather impact forecast. A heat advisory has lapsed for most of the St. Louis region. Now all eyes are on a line of storms that will bring some cool relief. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. Let's get straight over to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell. If those storms will have an impact here overnight is the question we're wondering, Scott.
Well, we're just looking up the road right now, up 55. This is Springfield, Illinois, looking at the state capitol there. Look at the camera bouncing in that gusty wind. That's what we've seen in central portions of Illinois. Most of the active weather has remained up to our north, but it's pretty intense. And here you look at this little boundary. This is the outflow boundary that's out well ahead of any thunderstorms. It's sliding to the south and southeast, but that is going to get into the northern portions of our viewing area over the course of the next hour or so. We think the severe weather threat is staying off to our north and east from Springfield heading over towards Indiana, central Indiana. But this boundary does extend back into northern portions of Missouri, and our future cast taking us through the overnight hours indicates the potential that we're going to get some additional development of showers and thunderstorms along that boundary in northern Missouri, and then after 3 a.m. they try to slide towards St. Louis. How much of this is realistic and how much of this is overblown by the computer models, that remains to be seen. But what it does, it brings us clouds, it brings us some cooler air, and it presses the heat and humidity farther to the south of St. Louis. So the heat advisory no longer for St. Louis, but our counties to the south, since we're unsure whether or not we will see the relief from the heat and humidity, remain in that heat advisory. Thunderstorms could change that. We have that chance late tonight. 40 to 45 mile per hour winds and some downpours would seem to be the main threat. And that's after about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, Kelly.
All right, Scott. Tonight, Republicans are wrapping up the first night of a busy convention. The RNC officially nominated Donald Trump for president.
And Trump picked his running mate. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, is live outside the Fiserv Forum in downtown Milwaukee with a recap of the whirlwind day. Mark.
Yeah, Mike and Kelly, it's been a whirlwind few weeks and few days for Donald Trump. His political fortunes reversing in what seems like an instant. He went from facing a possible prison sentence for felony conviction to the Supreme Court clearing a wide berth for him, then sharing a debate stage with Joe Biden during those blundered moments where Biden stumbled. Now Trump narrowly escaping the assassin's bullet and that would-be assassin there, all of it leading up to this big roll call of states just hours ago.
The mighty Missouri is casting 54 delegates for our favorite president and the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Delegates to the Republican National Convention described what they felt nominating Donald Trump to run for president.
I mean, once in a lifetime dream come true.
Missouri House Republican Mazie Christensen said the GOP is putting its fractured factions back together.
I feel like the Republican Party is more unified than ever before. I think we're looking amazing right now, and especially since now we have JD Vance as the vice president pick.
Trump's new running mate came out on the floor to greet the party faithful.
I was in a primary against JD.
Ohio Republicans previewed what he might say in his acceptance speech Wednesday night.
What should America know about who JD Vance is?
Well, we're very honored and excited to have JD be on the ticket. JD Vance is a man of the people. He has a great message.
Under the elation, emotions still running high after an assassin's bullet came within an inch of setting this convention and the country on a very different course.
It was God protecting him, absolutely.
Quite frankly, I'm still in shock over it. I still get the chills. It was a very dangerous moment for our country. I personally believe in divine intervention, and if President Trump hadn't slightly moved his head, we'd be in a very, very different position tonight.
And thousands of Republican delegates are now pouring out of the Fiserv Forum after seeing Donald Trump enter the arena with that bandage over his ear. And the name on their lips tonight is JD Vance, the former Trump critic who once called Trump the opioid of the masses, but now the acclaimed author who so eloquently described how substance abuse can hollow out rural American towns. He joins the ticket with Trump to help illustrate that American carnage as they go about pitching the Republican ticket to American voters.
And Mark, in the wake of Saturday's shooting, I would imagine the convention hall was locked up like a vault tonight.
It really is, and the layers of security around this place extend far into surrounding parts of downtown Milwaukee. It's very difficult to get through. Secret Service performing sweeps at every perimeter, going through every bag and every container that even approaches this building. So it's a very safe position here, but again, live in downtown Milwaukee. Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
All right, thank you, Mark. And Mark will be live at the RNC all week long. You can catch reports on air on KSDK.com and on the 5+ app. He will also be at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and that starts August 19th.
Tonight, President Joe Biden sat down with NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt for an exclusive interview. He asked him about the assassination attempt on the former president's life and the heated language of this campaign, including his comment about putting Trump in the bullseye before Saturday's shooting.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election.
President Biden says he had a cordial conversation with President Trump Saturday night and told him he was in his prayers.
An update tonight on an effort to get more businesses to open up shop in downtown St. Louis. Earlier this year, city and community leaders announced new financial incentives to lure retailers in. New tonight, 5 on your side's Brent Solomon is live downtown with more from one business that's taking advantage. Brent?
You know, Kelly, I'm told as soon as word got out about that money, a couple dozen business owners actually stepped up. We're talking $350,000 here. And tonight, I'm catching up with one of the businesses that's now claiming a piece of the pie.
Ask just about anyone taking a stroll downtown, you'll likely hear much of the same.
Be nice to see parts of St. Louis downtown be revived.
That's what the folks at the St. Louis Development Corporation and Greater STL Inc. are working to do.
I just feel like we've got a lot of momentum right now.
Kurt Weigel with the latter group says as soon as they announce financial incentives to retain current downtown businesses and to attract new ones.
Within the first few weeks, we had over 40 responses.
This is going to be a bar.
Javia Gilliam Sanford and her husband were among them. You may know them for their mobile bartending business, Poor Decisions. Now they're opening a brick-and-mortar location here on Washington Avenue.
No TVs back here, just you, your bartender, like a bar was intended.
It will be called The Passport, a travel and vintage-themed establishment with ties to home.
You may know in St. Louis as kids, we used to put our peppermints in our pickles. So you'll see a dirty martini with a peppermint-infused gin, a pickle brine, a little Lillet Blanc, something that makes us feel like St. Louis, and our part of St. Louis where we grew up.
The company is the first grant recipient to be announced, winning $15,000 to open up shop. Organizers say this is an ongoing effort, and while other businesses are in the process of being awarded, others can still apply.
People will come to these retailers, to these restaurants, because that's why people go to cities in the first place.
Downtown's coming alive. We do really want to be part of that heartbeat.
Now, this grant also helps businesses who are already downtown to improve their facade, greenery, furniture, you name it. To find that application, just visit the As Seen on TV section of KSDK.com. Live downtown, Brent Solomon, back to you.
Tonight, Berkeley police are looking for these 3 men wanted for an armed carjacking. It happened early Saturday morning near the city pool. Investigators say the trio was armed with a semi-automatic pistol and forced a driver out of their Mercedes E350. If you recognize these suspects, you can call Berkeley police. That number is 314-524-3311. It has been nearly 34 years since Ivan Browning's prediction of a massive earthquake along the New Madrid Fault on December 3rd, 1990. The false forecast rattled nerves and had many in the St. Louis region preparing for the big one. So what if an 8.4 magnitude earthquake hits St. Louis?
This week, local first responders are working with federal partners and the National Guard to put their response to the test. New tonight, Laura Barczewski got to see the action up close. Laura?
I did, Mike and Kelly. This is the first of 3 days of training, so you'll be seeing those Army vehicles and helicopters around downtown and even out in St. Charles County until the end of the day Wednesday. Earthquakes are just one of many types of disasters our first responders have to prepare for as both Missouri and Illinois sit along the New Madrid Fault.
Certainly the makeup of our city and the metropolitan area as a whole does present us with a lot of opportunities for damage, the need for assessment. We're known for our brick structures. Bricks and earthquakes are not a great match.
The U.S. Army National Guard Task Force 46 worked alongside St. Louis Fire, police, and other emergency personnel to respond to lifelike scenarios using mannequins and fake high-rise rescues and even vehicle pileups.
The cars are piled up in order to give the urban search and rescue team a chance and opportunity to improve upon their skill set in cutting into cars and extracting patients from vehicles.
They also had about 40 volunteers from the community in makeup with different types of fake injuries to go through a triage scenario.
So looking at the different types of injuries, being able to sort them or triage them into if they required urgent medical needs and then where they would go from there.
And mock chemical decontamination tents were set up so that first responders could practice running through it themselves and working with civilian actors.
For this specific scenario, there was a rail car or a series of rail cars that were damaged because of the earthquake, and they released vinyl chloride or some nasty chemicals into the area.
St. Louis Emergency Management Commissioner Sarah Russell says doing this kind of training prepares them to keep St. Louisans safe.
We get to practice locally and even with some of our state partners on a regular basis, but it's less frequent that we're able to partner and exercise and train alongside of our federal partners.
Tomorrow they'll be working downtown again near Busch Stadium, and they'll also be working on the Mississippi River in St. Charles to assemble a temporary bridge. So if you see mannequins, Army vehicles, and other activity on the river, don't panic. It's all part of the drill.
They're knockoff drugs promising to help you keep the weight off. But are these injections safe? We verify. He got in the starting blocks in St. Louis. Now he's going for gold in Paris.
I just feel so blessed and grateful and thankful and just excited.
The hurdle tonight for a local Olympian hoping to bring his cheering section with him to the City of Lights.
Tracking relief from the heat. That relief comes with a thunderstorm chance for some of us by daybreak. Why there'll be more than one round of showers and storms for most of us.
A potential new owner is putting its money on Fairmount Park with plans of a new casino at the horse racing track in Collinsville. Chicago-based Accel Entertainment announced it's buying FanDuel Sportsbook and horse racing for $35 million in a stock deal. The terminal game operator plans to invest millions into the site, including the addition of a casino. The deal still needs regulatory approvals.
Ozempic and other weight loss drugs have become so popular that it's hard to get your hands on them. Now, knockoffs are hitting the market. Tonight, our Verify team looks into whether they're safe. Here's Adiane Gatil.
Some people who have struggled with weight loss are turning to drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, which contain semaglutide as the active ingredient to help shed those extra pounds. But accessibility has been an issue. The drugs are expensive and often in short supply due to their popularity. That has caused some people to look at knockoff versions. You may have even seen some ads for them pop up on social media. But are there safety concerns with buying knockoff weight loss drugs? Let's verify using these sources. 3 semaglutide products are FDA approved: the Ozempic injection, Rybelsus tablets, and the Wegovy injection. They are only available with a prescription, and there are no approved generic versions. If you buy a knockoff, you could receive either a counterfeit or a compounded form of the drug. Our sources say there are safety concerns for both. The WHO issued a warning about counterfeit forms of Ozempic in June 2024, saying they may have an undeclared active ingredient that could lead to an unpredictable range of health risks or complications. In December 2023, the FDA said it had seized thousands of counterfeit units of Ozempic with needles that may not have been sterile. So what about compounded versions of these drugs? Pharmacists and doctors can make compounded drugs by combining, mixing, or altering the same active ingredients to make a personalized form of a drug for a patient. But medical experts recommend that people avoid taking compounded versions of weight loss drugs because they aren't FDA approved, which means the feds can't vouch for their safety and effectiveness. And some may contain a different active ingredient altogether that isn't listed. So we can verify, yes, there are safety concerns with buying knockoff weight loss drugs. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
What would you like for us to verify? Send us an email to verify@ksdk.com. We are now 11 days from the Summer Olympics, and Florissant native Freddie Crittenden III is heading to Paris with a shot at the gold.
Yeah, the McClure North grad pulled off an historic performance at the Olympic trials, and now the hurdler is asking for the community's help to bring his family with him to Paris. The Crittenden family is still about $8,000 short of their $20,000 goal. The money will cover travel costs for Freddie's parents and 7 siblings. Tonight they hosted a fundraiser at Hotel St. Louis to help put them over the finish line.
His Olympic goal has come to fruition, and I'm excited. And so to be there is everything. Nothing like being at home on the couch watching. Absolutely not.
If you'd like to donate to the family's GoFundMe, you can find the link in the As Seen on TV section of KSDK.com.
And while Crittenden prepares for the games, Paris is doing its own prep. Crowds watch the Olympic torch make its way through Paris. Today it passed through some of the city's best-known landmarks, such as the Notre Dame Cathedral and the Louvre Museum. The relay will end when the Olympic cauldron is lit on July 26th. And you can watch the opening ceremony and the games right here on 5 on Your Side. For the latest Olympic news and to keep up with local athletes, text the word Paris to 314-425-5355.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell rejoins us now with that weather impact forecast and the possibility of some storms tonight, Scott.
We think later tonight into early tomorrow morning, some storms will move through. We don't think they'll be like the ones they've seen up in Chicago. Chicago for the second night in a row, tornado sirens going off. And yes, they have had some tornadoes touch down in and around the Chicago area tonight. They've been those quick spin-ups because of that big storm system. 70 to 80 mile per hour winds on these segments of these storms that are bowing out to the north of us. But that's also bringing some cooler air for those folks. And it's that clash where we're having some of that flare-up. Now, you notice we're still on the warm side here, and these storms have put down a boundary that's not too far away from us. In fact, the severe thunderstorm warnings aren't that too far away. Those are strong winds continuing to push through east central portions of Illinois, but north of our area. We do have a couple of little showers, though, trying to develop here up towards Root House, up towards Whitehall. We'll watch this area to the north for some potential development, but you definitely have the outflow coming down, and at least some cooler air will get into those locations here north of St. Louis for tonight. It still feels like it's 98 degrees in St. Louis, 89 right now. 98 was our high for today. So let's time this out through the overnight hours. And again, this is just one of the computer models we're looking at, showing the potential for these showers and thunderstorms in that 2 to 4 to 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's uncertain how widespread this will be, but the chance is certainly there. We're warm, we're humid, we have those ingredients, we have the boundary from these storms trying to slide in, so that potential exists. It's unlikely we'd see severe weather, but certainly the potential for some downpours and maybe some gusty winds 40 to 45 miles per hour with some of the stronger storms. We'll monitor it overnight. Then as we head towards tomorrow evening into tomorrow night, the potential increases once again for some more showers and thunderstorms. We may have some semblance of disturbance kind of slipping by aloft that helps fuel some of those storms tomorrow night. So first thing in the morning, we'll have our chance of showers and storms. Should be down into the 70s. During the afternoon hours, back into the low, maybe mid-90s. We're going with 94. We'll stick with it. It's going to range across the area between the upper 80s, maybe only mid-80s farther north of St. Louis. And then you look at that next 7 days and you really see the cooler weather coming in here. Unbelievably nice for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We definitely won't be worrying about heat advisories for the weekend. Tomorrow, the only areas we're concerned about to the south of St. Louis, where that heat advisory remains in effect. But these overnight and early morning showers and thunderstorms, they'll toss some clouds in here, put down some extra boundaries. That may not be a case that you have to worry about tomorrow.
Yeah, and then the rest of the week looks fabulous.
Yeah, we could use a little rain. We just don't need the severe weather.
No. All right, thanks, Scott. Sports is next.
A great day at the baseball draft for two high school kids. We had a wild home run derby, and on Hit and Run tonight, the most provocative thing a woman ever said to All-Star JD Vance during a game. Stick around, please.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
When you have had the success the Cardinals have had, you pick late in the draft every year and often don't get superstars. Well, they finished last in 2023 and picked 7th this year. They plucked J.J. Weatherholt, a shortstop, last night. Today, they were busy. In the 3rd round, how about Brian Holiday, a right-handed pitcher from Oklahoma State, who's not related to Matt, but was once the outstanding player at the JUCO National Tournament. 4th round, they got an interesting catcher from Arizona State, Ryan Campos. He hit .369 this season, which was tops among all Division I catchers. Then in the 5th round, they nabbed Brandon Davis, a left-handed pitcher from Oklahoma, and he throws his fastball 95 miles per hour. Ethan Bagwell thought he would be a Mizzou Tiger next season, but today, with friends and family watching, the Collinsville senior was drafted by the Braves in the 6th round. And when you're 6'3", 230 pounds, and throw a baseball 97 miles per hour, you are not going to college. Congrats to Ethan. Congrats to Titus Sisso, who had also signed with Mizzou, but today, the Francis Howell senior was drafted in the 4th round by the Diamondbacks. He's a 6'2" switch hitter with really good speed. Titus is the 16th draft choice from Howell, and they've all been coached by the great Tony Perkins. In fact, his father was also a draft choice, and he's been his mentor.
Being my mentor on and off the field, it's been amazing, him leading me. So having some of his background and his experiences, being able to learn from him and pick up some of the things that he's been able to learn along the way, and from experiences and meeting people.
How about this? We had the home run derby tonight, and the Dodgers' Teoscar Hernandez really put on a show. However, Bobby Witt Jr. had a chance to tie him on his final swing, but the ball is going to hit the bottom of the wall, and Hernandez becomes the first Dodger to win a home run derby. So with the Cardinals off, we are playing hit and run with a celebrity all week long. No hedging is allowed. It's All-Star Week, so we go to the 3-time All-Star, JD Vance. Player on the Cardinal team that you would most like to have as a teammate?
Whoever picks up the tab the most.
What is the one thing from Whitey Herzog that you learned that may even stay with you today?
That there's really only one way to play the game. And having said that, he doesn't care about your feelings.
Worst thing ever yelled at you by a fan?
That someone took my mother home the previous night.
The most provocative thing ever yelled at you by a female fan?
We used to go to Chicago, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and the end of the year. And this was the middle of the year, and it was hot, and they were spraying each other, and she told me they're all mine.
If there were no baseball in this world, you would have done what with your life?
I've been sitting in that chair interviewing baseball players.
All right. It's easy. Anybody can do it.
Anybody,
I prove that every year.
It's obviously an easy job.
If you were starting over again, what would be one thing you'd do differently with your All-Star career?
Oh, gosh, I think I would have tried to learn to be a hitter first and a slugger second.
Willie Mays has just passed away. You're starting a franchise. Everybody in the history of baseball is healthy at age 22. Who do you start it with, and why? Mays?
Yeah.
Because?
He beat you 5 ways and not get a hit.
Who's the one famous sports figure you met that really disappointed you?
I would say Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio was a really big disappointment for me. I asked my son to go over and get his autograph. He wouldn't give it to him. So Joe and I had a conversation. About 30 seconds later, my son got his autograph.
DiMaggio was a guy who insisted on being introduced as baseball's greatest living player.
Right.
So, interesting, yeah.
It is.
We'll be right back. We are out of time, so there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.